here are some filter examples. So using filters in Photoshop, really fun way to make your pictures creative and cool. So I'm going to show you the picture by itself. So you see this one is like black and white, very graphic, and of course this is an abstract assignment, so we're looking for the abstract qualities in it, right? And you see really cool abstract qualities. And then this is what the picture really initially was. So it's a very big difference, right? And we can make it look really, really neat and add colors and textures and shapes and forms and make it look really cool. Here's another one done with some filters in Photoshop. And you can probably tell that there's some flowers in it, but that's not real obvious. We more look at the colors and shapes and forms, but this was the original. And it makes it really, really neat to play off what you can. I'm going to show you some other filters on each of these, but it's a really neat way to play off the textures and colors and shapes and enhance them. Here's a really nice one of a succulent, and here's the original, which is okay, but a little bit boring. And in this case, putting the filter on it really enhanced it, I think. It really showed off the textures, showed off some cool lines and shapes in it. And that's what we're looking to do when we filter in Photoshop. So let's open one of these. And the way that you filter things, what I would do first is I would duplicate the background layer, because then you can get out of it. You can move away from the filtering anytime. You can do that one of two ways. Control J does it, or if you right click you can go duplicate layer and just say okay. You can name it if you want, filtered layer. I think if you click slowly on it, you can name it and just call it filter. So then you know that that layer has a filter on it. So once we're on that layer, we go up here to where it says filter at the top in Photoshop. There's a whole category just saying filter. When you click on filter, you go down to filter gallery. But if you don't do that, there's all of these other filters, and it tells you basically what kind of filters they are. Blur, and then when you see there's a drop-down menu in each of these, and it shows you a whole bunch of other kinds of things. And distort, a whole bunch of different things you can do. Noise, all of this kind of stuff you can do. But the filter gallery, and you see there's no examples, so you're not sure what all these are. You kind of have to play with them to find out. But if you go to filter gallery, it pulls up your picture and filters it. Now, it always automatically goes to the last filter you used. Okay? So let's get out of that and come back to any of these. Okay? The way that this works is that you see over here there's all of these categories: artistic, brushstroke, distort, sketch, stylized, texture. So and each of these has another drop-down menu. So you click on any of them and it shows this picture of a sailboat on the ocean with each filter applied to it. So you see a little thumbnail of what each one will look like. It's kind of small, so it's kind of hard to tell. But so this is colored pencil. This is fresco. Excuse me, this is watercolor. This is palette knife. So if any of you are painters, that's when you apply the paint rather than with a brush. You apply it with a flat edge kind of knife. This is sponge. If any of you are into art, you use sponge to apply color. So it's making the picture look like that. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Here's poster edges. So you see how it made little black edges all the way around everything in your picture. And the thing you need to know about each of these, each filter you click on has its own other menu on the right-hand side. So right now I'm on poster edges. And then you see over here, over here I can change edge thickness, edge intensity, or I can posterize it more. So just play, learn to play. So if I move this to the right, you'll see that it's making those black lines a little bit thicker. If I make them over here, it's going to make them even darker. Then the posterization is where it's a dramatic difference between the colors, and you see kind of a cool effect, and you can kind of play with that and see what you like. It takes a while for the filters to sometimes apply, so give it a few seconds. Over here there will be a progress bar, so wait for that to go. But you can change it by moving these sliders. There's adjustments on every single filter that there is. So yeah, I go, oh yeah, those are cool, but oh, I want to show you the plastic wrap one. Here's the plastic wrap one. The one I don't want you to use very often. Okay, so it makes everything look like it's shrink wrapped, right? So, whoops, let's make it a little bigger. And so let's go out of artistic and let's go to brush strokes. Brush strokes tend to make things look like a painting. Now again, here's another one. Stroke length, spray radius. Which direction do you want the strokes to go? Right diagonal, if you do the drop down, left diagonal, vertical, horizontal. You can make them go any way you want. You can make the stroke length bigger, and I can do the spray radius more, so you can see the effect in here. Okay? And each time you change from one filter to the next, it automatically makes those adjustments on there. It starts off as if it's fresh. Distortion is like you're shooting through glass here, so it makes it look diffuse if you do that. This is like you see the ripples of glass, and then the ocean ripples, which are more ripply, like real pebbled glass. The sketch ones will turn it to black and white. So here's a bas relief, makes it look like it's 3D. Chrome makes it look like it's metal. And you can play with some of these. Here's one that looks like it's plaster or torn edges, and none of those look too well, but I really like the charcoal one. And that's the one I played with. And again, you can adjust these however you want by playing with these adjustments on the right-hand side. And once you pull it up if you like it, so I pull it up because I like it like that, you can adjust it again by going into image adjustments. So you go in here and let's say I want to make the, this is all too dark, which it is, so I want to lighten that part up really a lot. Now keep that part kind of dark, but I want to lighten up the dark areas. So I can make a huge difference on this picture by doing that. I can come in, again under image adjustments, and I can do color balance, hue, saturation, brightness, contrast. I can do any of that. So I can make it brighter, add a little bit more contrast or less contrast. So I have the ability to adjust the picture even after it's been filtered. So that's that one. So let's open the flower one. So let's not open that one. All right, so there's the flower one. So I'm going to duplicate that layer and say it's filter. And then I'm going to go to the filter and use filter gallery. Again, it's going to remember your last one and put that on immediately. Well, that kind of wrecks this one. The black and white does not look good at all on this one, right? So let's close out of the sketch ones because most of those are black and white. Then you can come down to the texture one. You can make it look like it's, these look like almost like paintings, like they have they're painted on a surface, like on canvas or something. The stained glass is kind of cool. I kind of like that. And on the stained glass, you see you have another drop down. I mean, you have sliders here, so you can make your cell size bigger or smaller. You can make your borders thicker or not as thick by moving it however you want. And you can make it brighter or darker. Okay? So I think that one actually looks kind of cool with it too, don't you? So that one would be like a second choice there. But I used on it Stylize, which is this one. And again, the sliders now here are edge width, edge brightness, and smoothness. So edge width, so let's make it come down a little. The brightness, I think it's pretty bright. The smoothness kind of makes it a little bit less contrasty. And then I would open it and say, okay. And then again, I could come in and I can do any adjustments I want. So let's say I even want to change the color balance. So you see how it's all kind of blues and greens? I can make it all warm by just using this yellow slider here. Or moving it to the greens, or moving it to the magentas, or moving it, making it cyan. I can do anything. So once I've played with it, I can adjust it. And again, I can adjust the density and the contrast and all that stuff too. So again, in curves, maybe I want to brighten it up, maybe I want to make it more contrasty. Here's before, here's after. So I can do the same things after I've filtered it that I've done before I filtered it. But this way, I can turn on or off that layer, because that's the filtered layer now. So I can turn it on or off and see my effect. Okay? So then click out of that. And then the last one the succulent. So it's kind of bland, all monochromatic. We learned about that in our color stuff. So we're going to go under filter again and go to filter gallery. Again, it's going to remember the last one we did, and I don't think that looks good on it at all. So I don't think that stylized looks good. And then if sketching, making it black and white, that might look okay. That doesn't look too bad. So you play. One of the things about this is you just kind of play to see what you think looks really cool with it. Don't really like any of those. Dark strokes is going to make it look like it's painted, and then ink outline is going to give it edges. That's not too bad. And again, I can change things on these. Stroke length here, so I can make the stroke lengths bigger. Dark intensity, make it not as dark or make it darker, depending on what I want to do here. And the light intensity again, so the contrast here. And then the Sumi-e, which is like an old painting school type of painting, a Japanese type of painting, I can change this. So I can make it, because I kind of like how this looks with all the detail in that and the contrast. I think I want a little less because I like having some detail here. So maybe I'll take that contrast way down and then say okay, and then I can adjust it again in Photoshop. So I'm going to come in, do curves, play with it, maybe make a little contrastier, and then say okay. Well, I should have duplicated my layer first here, but you see the difference you can make in the pictures. Very cool, right? All right, so that's using filters in Photoshop. Here's another really cool filter called Liquify. So what that does is it makes the picture be able to be moved around. So you'll see in the corner that I have a brush, and I can adjust my brush size, remember, by using the right and left bracket keys, right? Make it bigger or smaller. What it does is it physically moves the emulsion on your picture. Okay? So you can actually move everything around. This is actually how they make people look thinner or fatter in Photoshop too. Okay, so I can move some of these. If I move it around this way and I get the checkerboard pattern that's gray and white, that means it's that part here is invisible. So you want to make sure you fill that up. You don't want that to go away because that's showing you that there's nothing there. So but you can take this and you can swirl it. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with it, but you know, then it loses the integrity of the picture because it, you know, from what it started with. Although this one might be okay, then if you say okay, then it pulls it up in Photoshop again, and again you can adjust the density, lightness, darkness, etc. Takes a while. Let it come up. Don't be impatient. Let it come up with this. Okay?